Hello, my name is Bubzia and today I want to do a commentary over my Deltarune True Pacifist Blindfolded speedrun in 34 minutes and a few seconds. True Pacifist is the second most popular category of Deltarune, and it's very similar to any percent, but with the restriction that you are not allowed to kill any enemies. And Deltarune is a typical RPG 2D from above, made by Toby Fox, the Undertale creator. And yeah, I've been speedrunning this game blindfolded since a long time now. I have been doing any percent New Game Plus at RTA in Japan. And I thought, because the commentary there is in Japanese, I thought a English commentary about one of those runs might be very useful and give some insights to the strats and to what is going on actually. So yeah, right before we start, True Pacifist, as I said, you cannot kill anything, and you make a lot of use with the act command instead of fighting. And the actually only major difference between any percent New Game Plus and TP or True Pacifist New Game Plus is that there is a little cutscene at the very end that confirms that you didn't kill anything. As you can see right here, we start the game from a completely new file, even if it's New Game Plus. Because in Deltarune that only means that you have cleared the game once before, and you can basically just create a new file on the screen and don't have to watch an additional cutscene at the beginning. Which is good because it's 5 minutes long and there's not really any gameplay. But yeah, right in the beginning we have to create our character, as in a typical RPG. We need to create our appearance and most importantly, select our name, which is pretty difficult blindfolded because, as you can see, there are all these characters and you have to hit in the down right the confirm button, which is more difficult than it sounds probably, because if you get lost in the letter menu there, it is very easy to not being able to get out basically, because you just cycle through the letters and cannot confirm, and it's basically a blindfolded softlock. But yeah. The run starts instantly. We wake up in our home, and what New Game Plus does is you don't need to go now out into your school and stuff in the story, but you can just go right straight into your bed and sleep, and this will lead you to the next area. And right here we pick up an item which allows us to mash text extremely fast. And as you can see, I just navigate myself through this map here. In the beginning I used the footsteps of Chris, the main character. As you can hear, I use these footsteps to count the different rooms, basically 10 steps right, 2 steps upright, and like this I have this mental map of where I need to go and how far I need to go. Also interesting is that I hear when I transition screams, because there's a little lag in the footsteps, so I can just here perfectly know where the switch is if I count 12 steps from the loading zone, for example. And I have created many blindfolded techniques. So far there is one other runner of this game, but I created this whole speedrun with the strats basically myself. A lot of it comes from the visual speedrun. As you can see, it's very fast, very fluid movement, very fast gameplay, and it's very action-packed, so I'm actually not that far behind from visual speedrunners at this point. But yeah, right here in the beginning you can see there was this shady figure called Lancer, and he throws these spades at us completely random. We can just hold right and basically pray to not get hit. The thing is, theoretically it is possible to die, but after all the hundreds of hours that I've played this game, it never happened to me, so in that case you would just need to reset the game and I guess lose 3 minutes. But yeah, it never happened. These spades don't do much damage. So here we go up into the first fight and take this safety save. Saving doesn't cost a lot of time, it's very fast and very good for Blindfolded, because if you get lost or anything happens, your character dies or really anything, you can just quickly reset, restart the game and continue from the save point. And here you see Lancer again, now on a bike, which will be our first fight against Chris and our second party member Susie. This fight takes 4 hits against him, and it doesn't matter how much damage you do, so we don't need to go for critical perfects. We just mash the attack button as fast as possible and try to dodge these attacks. All the attacks of Lancer are random, so we kind of cannot really dodge them. But yeah, we don't really need to dodge them because he dies after 4 turns or like escapes after 4 turns. And that's why we just mash the attack button as fast as possible to save some frames. And here is Ralsei, our third party member, introduced. And finally some music starts. And this was the first area of the game. What is very interesting is, so far, as I said, I used footsteps to count and to navigate through the map. What is the most difficult thing about this game, Blindfolded, is that there are basically 0 to no audio cues available throughout the whole run. Because after this room, we have only background music. And I use the rhythm and beats of the music to count. For example, in this enemy skip. This is the field section, there are many enemy skips going on, and I have very precise beat count setups to skip them. This one is very precise, for example, and it is very specific movement. If you miss a enemy skip encounter, it's not that bad, you can always just fight them in the pacifistic manner. Here again. All these enemy skips are extremely precise, and upcoming a little puzzle where we have to step on these little platforms with both characters, which also requires very specific movement, which is also all timed by the rhythm of the music. Because as you can hear, it's the only thing we can basically rely to all the time. We have no idea where we are, we just know how far the music has progressed, basically. And here we have come into another forced fight. And since we cannot just attack the enemies in TP, we have to act on them and then spare them. In any percent, you would be able to use strats with killing enemies, which is faster overall, but also not that much. The biggest time save in any percent comes from not having to watch the cutscene at the end. That confirms the pacifistic playthrough. So yeah, Susie joins our party again. In the story she got separated a bit. And a very difficult puzzle is coming up again, more difficult than the first one. This time with 3 characters and I think 6 switches on the ground, if I remember correctly. Yes. I think you have like 10 seconds to do this puzzle. It's not much and it's very precise. But as you can see, I did it perfectly here. And our first mini-boss, which only takes 1 hit and then he's dead. So we just continue through the game. Safety save whenever possible, doesn't lose much time. And another fight is upcoming. This fight also we will spare everyone. In any percent you would kill them, but since we can't, we can use a different strat with acting and sparing. And as you can see, all the fights are just a lot of menuing. You have to act, select the correct menu and then spare and all these things. So fighting is basically a whole lot of memorization of menus. Nothing too special, to be fair. These attacks are dodgeable. It doesn't really matter if you dodge them or not, because the enemies at this point don't do much damage. Yeah. And upcoming will be another very difficult puzzle. But what I want to mostly point out is the lack of audio cues. Because in this room, for example, we actually have an audio cue, and that makes it so much easier. In that if we press the box and press Z, we get the sound that we actually hit the box. And with that we can like maneuver around the box and get them onto the switches very fast. So I definitely think the biggest difficulty in this run is to not having anything besides the music going on, basically. Another extremely difficult, one of the more precise enemy skips coming up with this very specific movement. We lure the enemy there, get some speed, dodge it, and perfect. Next area, the Checkerfields. In the Checkerfields you can see there are these white stripes of light on the floor. If you touch them you get teleported back to the beginning of the room, so we use again audio cues and beat counting to exactly know when to dodge, when to evade. And there are these enemies. In the enemy rooms in Checker, we just hold right, so we start the fight always at the exact same position. And with that we can, for example, know the exact position and counting that we need to do for this white stripe skip. Same as here, we just hold right after the lands the text. And then we always start the fight at the same position. In the visual speedrun it is possible to skip these enemies completely with perfect movement without hitting like the walls, for example, that slow you down. But since in Blindfolded it's close to impossible, I don't even go for it. I just get the enemy encounter and use it to my advantage to know where I am for the next rooms. So you can see the enemies are coming, and exactly at this point I will always be normalized. Spare all of them, and we can proceed to a boss fight which is coming up. One of the big challenges of TP is that Susie is in the first half of the game not controllable, so as you can see she does damage to the enemies, and if she hits an enemy twice he's dead and it's not Pacifist anymore. So you need to spare the enemies in like a very specific order to not let anyone die. And yeah, first boss, real boss coming up. It's this guy again. He gets like big and muscular. And what we have to do is act on him 4 times or 5 times, I think, but one doesn't count really. So what we do is act on him, Susie attacks, and then we have to dodge this attack. This is the first attack of the game which is not random entirely, so we have this pattern in which we always can perfectly dodge. Second attack is very random on the other hand. As you can see, those stars are flying everywhere. Third attack, he heals himself, nothing that we need to do. Fourth attack, he jumps around again, which we can at first dodge, and then these stars are a bit more random, but as you can see it is possible to completely dodge it. Basically it is not really possible to die with my strats, and if we have the safety save right before the boss, so it's all good. A very good fight though. And yeah, as you can see the text mashing is very fast, the text proceeds super fast, and on the left side of the screen you can see my input display, where I basically for the entire run mash Z and enter, because it's like frame-based text progression, so in every frame you can hit a button and it just goes super fast. Now we are in Forest, an area with lots of enemy skips and puzzles and cutscenes and precise movements with rhythm again. As you can see, here I'm just using the beats, and for example I hear when this enemy appears, it appeared, and I know exactly where I am, so with that I can continue. Here I take damage, confirm that I'm at the right spot, do this setup to exactly align myself with this button here, do the puzzle with 2 beats left, 2 beats right, and all good. All these things that you can see on the world map that like spin and stuff, they hurt you, so they damage you. Very precise enemy skip here again. And another puzzle, which is no problem if you know where the buttons are located. Also buttons do audio cues, so very helpful. And a little mini boss fight coming up where we need to use the manual 2 times and defend with Ralsei. We don't really need to dodge, we can dodge, but it's not necessary. And then we can spare the enemy. Also save points refill your health, which is very convenient. And now the first deviation from the visual speedrun. We picked earlier up like a little Easter egg item called the top cake, and this NPC created an actual usable item out of it. First of all, here very difficult enemy skip. These things see you from like very far away, so you need to move in a very specific way. But yeah, to come back to the top cake, we have this item now, and it doesn't cost much time to get it, but it is a full party max health heal, which is basically needed in order to fight the last boss Blindfolded. There are not many healing items in this game in general, and the last boss fight is probably the most hardest thing in the entire run, so we need like every little bit that we can get. But what you saw here is like a fan favorite little sequence where you can build your own enemy. It will appear later. This room is very interesting. You can just hold the right button and you dodge all the attacks perfectly, which I find very interesting. A little secret switch here, and you can proceed through this area too. And the next area is very interesting. I will not talk for that because it's the longest beat count sequence in the entire run. Many enemy skips, very fast movement, so just enjoy. Perfect. I really like this sequence, it's very nice to see. And yeah, another boss fight coming up after this. It's the machine that we created earlier, which just blows up, and we actually fight Susie and Lancer in a very specific fight. We act 2 times on Lancer, try to dodge his attacks. This first attack is mostly always dodgeable. The second is completely random on the other hand, so you just have to bless. In this fight it is actually possible to die, so... Third round we act on Susie and let her sleep. Fourth round we act on Lancer, and then another time on Lancer, and the fight is over. But yeah, it's very hard to die, I would say, but it is possible. That was the Susie Lancer boss fight. And now comes the most notorious and very much most hated part of the entire speedrun, Blindfolded, just the forced escape. There's this long cutscene going on where we just hold right and talk to everyone, which would be a perfect time for like donations or announcements during a marathon run. A bit of downtime finally. And then there will be a basically completely random escape sequence. If you can remember at the beginning of the run when Lancer was throwing the spades at you, it's basically the same. There are random attacks coming from all directions and they can hit you or cannot hit you. And the problem is this time it's way longer and you have to survive until the very end. So there are 2 rooms. If you get hit in the first room for like 2 to 3 times, it's still okay. 4 to 5 times, it's probably a reset and you have to watch this cutscene again. So it's always like a 2-minute time loss. Right here, as you can see, they are coming just completely random from all directions. 1 hit here. It happened definitely lots of times that I died here during runs and had to reset because of it. In this second room, it comes like 50-50 left or right, and it can cause a lot of damage too. But we managed to do it here perfectly. Thankfully. Because really this is a very annoying part of the run in my opinion. Because it's really just random, you can't do anything about it. In visual you can of course at least see where it comes, you can easily dodge everything, but in Blindfolded it's not that easy. So yeah, now we are in prison. We have to collect these handcuffs on the wall, talk to Ralsei, and a little puzzle sequence come up where you have to input the answers via text options, which I do by first mashing carefully in a timed manner and then input the selection very carefully. It's very easy to get lost in the menu here, so I'm really careful with doing this. And upcoming is another very long cutscene, which is very needed because of break for your hands. The mashing is very tiring on your hands for sure on the constant run. So another little setback story-wise. Yeah, Lancer betrayed kind of the group because he joined the group for a short period and then he like betrayed them kind of, and he feels guilty about it. And Susie is really angry about it too. So they will have this fight going on where Susie is super angry and Lancer is pretty sad. But yeah, you don't need to do anything in this fight, just mash slowly the attacks because you cannot die and it's turn-based, so it's basically a scripted fight. Yeah. The story of this game is also very interesting. I don't know much about it myself. I just played it casually like once and then just speedrunned it a billion times. But I'm very sure a lot of other members of the speedrunning community can tell you a whole lot of details and very interesting story collections too. I'm more the going fast guy and playing without seeing, which is very weird to some people. But yeah, as you can see, Lancer now is like sad, he doesn't even attack you anymore, it's very emotional, but Susie continues hitting him. It's like, no, please stop moment. This game is very liked by a lot of people, especially because Undertale was such a big hit at this time. And Deltarune is also kind of in the same popularity range in my opinion. It has many fans around the whole world. And especially with the release of the second chapter in a few months, it's a very good time in my opinion to showcase this game and its speedrun to a wider audience. But yeah, this was the famous prison cutscene. And now we get released and we can make our way to the last portion of the game called the castle area. And here, for example, this save point I don't really use to safety save, but as I stop and am able to save with the sound, I know where exactly I am and I just need to hold up into the elevator here. And yeah, upcoming is a very precise enemy skip again. I do it differently, I have a different setup than the visual speedrunners do. I do like a room reload, which I find easier for not being able to see. And then there will be stairs upcoming, which it's always like a very trivial thing in games that is extremely difficult in blindfolded speedruns. But first the enemy skip. We save here. go right around this corner, skip this enemy, reload the room, and now in a very, very precise timed matter, skip this enemy, but we failed in my PB. So in case we fail any enemy skips in the run, we can always just fight them and do like in any percent, just fight them with attacks, or in TP just do acts in spares. I think it loses like 30 seconds to get this enemy encounter. But yeah, soon you will see that there are like 2D stairs that lets you into the next room right here. And they are very tricky because if you just hold up, you like infinitely run into the stairs up and down because they are only at the top of the screen. Also, most difficult puzzle of the game coming up. Yeah, you have to push this box once. It's not very difficult, to be fair. But yeah, if you get like caught in the stairs in the wrong spot, then you just infinitely go back and forth between the rooms and you don't know in which room you are, and it's very run killing for sure. In this treasure chest we picked up another healing item called the sandwich, which is only a safety item. Like, you don't need to use it to finish the game for sure, but it's nice to have, especially in a marathon setting. This enemy encounter is kind of forced, at least in Blindfolded. There is a way to skip it in visual, but it's like frame perfect, so I obviously don't go for it even. The problem with this fight is they are very strong, they do lots of damage. As you can see, Chris is on very low HP already. And it's very possible that you can die in this fight. In which case you can mostly back it up with just waiting until they revive, but it's a little timeless, so this was a very good fight. Skipping these enemies here, and another very difficult puzzle coming up, this time for real. You have to push the box a whole 2 times now, instead of 1 time. And we make our way to the shop, where this is also very different from the visual speedrun because I buy very different items. Big menu section here. I buy defensive items, healing items, and a new weapon for Ralsei, which I now equip. The new weapon on Ralsei is to get more healing power out of his heal attack in the last fight. The, well, defensive items, they just let you survive longer. And now is upcoming another boss. Again, someone we already know. This time it's a very cool and interesting, it's one of my favorite strats Blindfolded, because now we have to hit the crown of this enemy with like a shoot sequence like this. And it's very precise, many people struggle with this even with eyes, and I find it super cool that I found a setup to 100% hit the crown based on beat counting and just the rhythm of the music. So yeah, 3 hits, 3 perfect hits, and he is dead. And we are at the last boss of the game now. There's a last safety save, the last save of the run, behind these stairs here. And then we proceed into the king fight, which is a whole bunch to explain, so I will try to be fast. But basically, since we cannot kill him blindfolded because he does way too much damage, what we do is survive for 20 turns with like healing our party constantly and defending. And the thing is, in the 20 turns of the king, he does completely fixed attacks, so every turn I know what attack he's going to do. And based on the attacks, there are some that I can dodge, some that are completely random, and some that I just calculate how many times I get hit. For example, turn 1 is spades, where I just need to defend and bless RNG because these are completely random and they do lots of damage. In turn 2, I set up Ralsei to be able to use this healing attack because it's a 2-turn cooldown basically. I randomly heal Chris in case he got hit in the first round. And this attack of the king, we can dodge, it's the only attack that is non-random. we can time it. Third attack is Spears, which you can dodge kind of, but you can also kind of get hit. It's like very random, to be fair, but it's not that dangerous, like this cage for example, because every time there's a cage attack you just have to defend with all 3 characters and you get always hit 3 times if you don't move, which I do. If you move, it is possible to get hit up to 4 times, which will destroy my mathematics in my head. So here another dodgeable attack, and basically what I do this whole fight is have in mind how much HP I have, how many times I get hit, and so on. The problem is I cannot know which character gets hit because there's no audio cue for that. So here Ralsei is very low on health, for example, but I know that everyone is still alive, so I can heal in the spear attack because I know it's like dodgeable kind of. And now Ralsei, for example, died, and I could hear that one of the characters is dead, but I don't know which one, which is a problem because if I want to like heal now and Ralsei is dead, I can't heal and I mess up my menuing and I get lost in menus and I most likely die in the whole fight. So what I do is I constantly have basically all the attacks in my mind, all the patterns so that the king can do, and I calculate my HP until like this very last moment, which I had now, and then I throw the top kick, which is a full party heal. This is mostly enough to survive the complete fight now without any problems. I learned this fight pretty well, so it's not that random actually. It's all like mathematics basically. But yeah, I still have the sandwich in case I need another party heal, so it's very safe from this point on. We basically won and the run is finished. We just need to wait out the last attacks here. Another cage. And just defend to get less damage from the attacks. This one we can dodge. I could choose to heal here because I know that I cannot get hit, but this is the last attack now, so I don't need more health. So yeah, this was the king fight. It's a lot going on and very fast paced, so sorry if that was very fast. But yeah, this was the last boss of the game, and now we can proceed to finish the run. The last objective that we need to do is go to our house, back to the light world, and go to sleep in our bed. But there's of course a cutscene now, and a little change between True Pacifist is that after this fight there is this little extra section that you actually did not kill anything or anyone in this run. Most notably, this cutscene is also changed. There will appear like tons of different characters now, and they will save you. And then we have to talk to Lancer on the left side instead of going right to the end of the game to like confirm, and that's the True Pacifist requirement. So this is basically the only change between any percent and TP. I think this is my best run of the whole Deltarune, of all my runs, because there are 4 main categories: any percent and TP, and both in New Game and New Game Plus. I've run all 4 of these, mostly just any percent, but my any percent run is just a few seconds faster than this. And since I was already running any percent at RTA in Japan, I thought I will do a commentary version of TP now, which with all these additional cutscenes would be a faster run overall if it was any percent, but it is still cool that I got such a good run. So yeah, now we proceed to the very end of the game. The New Game categories compared to New Game Plus are also very similar. The only difference is that in the beginning of the game you can't directly go back to your bed, but you have to go like to school, and then in school there's like accidents, and then you go into this shadow world. But it's basically like a 5 to 6 minute cutscene. There's not much gameplay, there's a bit of movement for sure, but it's a basically long cutscene that you can watch at the beginning, and then you have a new game run. which honestly for a marathon setting as a like donation incentive or so I would find very interesting, because fans of the series that might never speedrun this game before so might be interested in seeing like the first cutscene, like the true whole game if you want. But yeah, now we are back in the school which we never entered because we went to sleep in New Game Plus, but yeah. There is a last section of movement coming up where we walk through the town to our house. It's like all peaceful now, nice sounds and birds. But it actually happened to me in Ronstadt. I got lost now in town because there's like a bit of movement, and if you mess up your movement and enter like a random house, for example, you get completely lost and it's basically unsavable then. The last save point was before the king fight, so the run is basically dead. But yeah, it should not happen for sure. As you can see here, it's just like 3 rooms. You go up the street, and then you are at your house already. And we did it. Peaceful home, music, all good. The famous pie. We go to our favorite bedroom, and the bed is here. And that's time. So yeah, 34 minutes, 17 seconds. Which is very good. My any percent time is 34.06, I think. Like 11 seconds faster. And the cutscenes that come to TP are like 30-40 seconds long, I think. So this would have been a very good any percent run too. But yeah, that's Deltarune without killing any enemy. I would be very happy to showcase this game at some marathons in the future. And there will still be like the credit roll and stuff where there will be a bit of time to talk. Still a nice little tune, a song going on. So yeah, the second chapter of Deltarune is releasing soon. Still in 2020 was an announcement a few weeks ago, I think. So in a few months there will be the second chapter of this game, which many people are very hyped about, including me. I will try to probably do it blindfolded too. It's pretty fun. So yeah, this was the run. I hope I could give some more insight on all the techniques and all the things I do, the game in general and the speedrun. Mostly it's beat counting for the blindfolded parts, like I use the rhythm of the music and a lot of memorization of menus and these kind of things. So yeah, the visual speedrun is not that much faster. I think I'm like 10 minutes behind the visual speedrunner, usually. A very good one. So I've come very far with this run in terms of optimization. And in a marathon setting, I would give myself like a 45-minute estimate in Deltarune now. In RTA in Japan I had a 55-minute estimate, but I finished the run with 39 minutes, including like 5 minutes of time loss because it wasn't my own hardware and a few of the setups didn't work on the other laptop, which is very surprising to me. But yeah, that's Deltarune. Thank you guys for watching and hope you have a nice day. Bye bye.